والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة عليها ملائكة غلاظ شداد لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم ويفعلون ما يؤمرون. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: إذا مات الإنسان انقطع عمله إلا من ثلاث: صدقة جارية أو علم ينتفع به أو ولد صالح يدعو له. وقال ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما: أدب ابنك فإنك مسؤول عن ولدك، ماذا أدبت وماذا علمته. وقد قيل في اللغة العربية: العلم في الصغر كالنكش في الحجر. Respected elders and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First and foremost, we have to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has blessed us with this great blessing of Iman. This enormous blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has handpicked every single one of us and has placed this great bounty in our hearts. And it is this bounty that will be the criterion of success, not only in this world, but in the transitory stage in the qabr and the eternal stage of the year after. That person who has this iman, who protects this iman, he looks after this iman, he builds upon this iman, this person will be successful in this world, in the qabr and in the year after. And a person who does not look after this iman, Allah forbid, he does not uphold this iman, he does not safeguard this iman, he does not do actions which build this iman, then the iman of this person will decrease and the year after will be a terrible fortune for him. We know that as a society, as an ummah, we are going through very difficult stages when it comes to social degeneration, when it comes to us losing our etiquettes, us losing our respect, losing social cohesion, losing living with love, living with muhabbah, losing the way that we talk to one another. There's a degeneration in the ummah. And very often when degeneration happens, it is because of our own doing, that as an ummah we become selfish, we become concerned only of those things that we are involved in, we become concerned of only our homes, that if my life is okay, if my children are okay, if everything in my house is in order, then I can now live a comfortable life. I do not need to worry of anything else. And when a person's mindset is this individualistic, materialistic mindset, then as an ummah, we will become degenerated. As an ummah, we will become fragmented. There will be disunity in the ummah. But when every person, the responsibility that he has on his shoulders, and this is what Islam tells us, that we live for the next person. We love to uplift the next person first before uplifting ourselves. Then we will find, when we love for our brothers more than what we love for ourselves, we will find cohesion in the ummah, we will find unity in the ummah, we will find the ummah coming upon the Quran, coming upon the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this ummah will be extremely strong. It will not go through humiliation, but rather it will have izzah, it will have honor, and it will have respect in the community. From amongst the bounties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us is that of children. And children, as we know, with all bounties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, there comes many different responsibilities with regards to it. If we have wealth, there's a responsibility with regards to it. If we have a family, there's a responsibility with regards to it. If we have another bounty, there's a responsibility that we have to fulfill. But perhaps one of the greatest bounties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us is that of children. And the reason why we mention it at this time, it is a time where parents are usually making decisions. What do I do with my children in the coming year? Which school do I put my child in? Which maktab do I enroll my child in? Where do I take him out from? What am I going to get him involved in the next year? So these are all things that we are now playing on the parent's mind and the guardian's mind. So this responsibility that we have of our children, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given it to us. Some of it is very apparent to understand, that we have to provide food for our children, we have to provide homes for our children, we have to provide all the different things for our children, for them to live in this world. However, very often we neglect the aspect of seeing to the iman of our children, which is the most important thing for us and for our children. That what am I leaving my child with regards to his deen? We know we are living in a time, if you speak to teachers, if you speak to Moulanas and Appas teaching in the maktabs, they will tell you that we are living in such a time that we are afraid to correct the student. We are living in such a time that we are afraid to make tarbiyah and correct the student. Why are we afraid to correct the student? When we correct the student, then very often it becomes an altercation between the parent and the teacher. It becomes the teacher is trying to correct the student in order to ensure that this child's akhlaq is now being built. Whatever deficiencies the teacher is noticing in the classroom, the teacher is trying to, in whatever way, to try to correct the akhlaq of the child. But when the teacher does this, the teacher gets a retaliation from the parents. It becomes an issue between the parent and the teacher. So the teachers now have taken a back step. They say, whatever happens in the classroom, let it happen. Why have the teachers now adopted this mentality? Because us as parents, we have adopted a selfish mentality with regards to our children. That when the mistakes are being pulled out of our children, and when children are being corrected by a stranger in the masjid, by the teacher in the classroom, by an elder in our family, then very often, instead of taking on that criticism and seeing that, is this problem really in my child, we tend to retaliate. We tend to become defensive, and we tend to make it a personal issue. So when this happens, then we will find that there will be a social degeneration in our children. And we will find that teachers will no more teach with that love, with that compassion for the child. And mistakes will happen, children will do whatever they want to, and nobody will have the guts to correct the child. Because why parents have now become protective over the children. We do not have this mindset of a community where if anyone corrects my child, then let me take that criticism on. As Moulana Yunus Patel Sahib rahimahullah, many of those from Durban will be well acquainted with him. He passed away in a Mubarak mode. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted us such a death in Makkatul Mukarramah, while he was sitting a few meters away from the Kaaba and just looking at the grandeur of the Kaaba and admiring it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted him death at that stage, and he's buried in Jannatul Mu'alla. He mentioned that once someone wrote to him that, "Oh Moulana, you and your blind followers, the people who attend your majalis, your programs, you'll have this fault, you have this fault, you have this problem, you have this problem, and so many faults in you. Now if it was me and you and somebody writes to us that this is your fault, this is your fault, this is your fault, how do we react to it?" Moulana says, simply I wrote back to that man, that, "Oh person, Jazakallah khair for bringing up all these issues. These faults are really in me, I will try my best to correct it. And in the future, if you notice anything, then please bring it to my attention. In the future, if you notice any shortcomings in me, then please bring it to my attention." The entire issue was dissolved. Just because of that mindset. That if criticism is thrown my way, then I will take that criticism on and I will do things which will rectify it. We're living in a time where we become armchair critics. That we look at what is happening in the dunya and we start complaining that this is happening, Muslims are going through this one is saying this one is saying that. But the real question that we have to ask ourselves is, what am I doing to change the ummah? Am I just sitting back and criticizing everything that is happening around me? Or is there some effort from my side to change the ummah? Now one person may ask the question that, the ummah is so large, how am I going to change the ummah? Every single person can change the ummah if he starts in his own house. If every person, you do not need to look at the next house, not at my cousin's house, not at my wife's house, or my wife's family's house, not at this one's house, not at that one's house, but every guardian of his own home. He takes the responsibility that I am going to take my family closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I am going to bring my family on Quran, and I am going to bring my family on Sunnah. Then we will see unity will come into us. And we know that unity is in the Quran and Sunnah. When the Quran and Sunnah will be followed, then there will be unity. And when there is digressing from the Quran and Sunnah, then we will find disunity in our hearts. We will find disunity in the communities. That is why at the very inception, when a child is born, the thing which we are encouraged to in the hadith, the first thing that we do is to give adhan in the child's ear, and iqamah in the child's ear. That at the very onset, we're teaching the child the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next thing we do is tahneed. We go to a pious person, he chooses a date, and we place a portion of the date on the palate of the child. And the reason that this is done is to imbibe in the child the qualities of the pious personality. The deen is being taught to the child from the time the child is a baby. You know, we're living in a society sometimes where if a child is dressed, a baby is dressed, small child, 2 years old, dressed with a kurta, dressed with a topi, goes to a function. Somebody looks at the child and says, hey, why are you being so strict on the child? He's so small, you don't have to be so strict on him, you don't have to dress him like this. Yet, if a child is dressed like a disbeliever, dressed in a way which is not in accordance with Islam, we take a picture, we say, no, so cute. This child, mashallah, so cute. So this is our mindset. This is how our mindset has changed when we have become individualistic. And teaching our children deen from a very young age, this is farad upon us. This is compulsory upon us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it very easy for us to make our children pious. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, if you have to just stick to that simple way, then it is easy to make our children God-fearing. Easy to bring taqwa into our children. Easy to bring love and muhabba at home. How often we hear the children complaining that, Moulana, our parents have no time for us. Our parents, really when the children come with this complaints, it breaks the heart. That the moment we pick up our child from the madrasa, in the car we're only talking of dunya. At the supper table, one child mentioned in the grade 4 class that, Moulana, my parents only know how to talk of money. Money, 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 money. And this is the honesty of the child. The girl said that, I wish my parents had other conversations with me. I wish my parents would just take some time out to talk to me. Sometimes we cannot even pass by 15, 20 minutes talking on the supper table with our family members. Talking at home with our children. Quickly we have a meal, quickly everyone goes to the room and is engaged in their own life. Recently I was walking with someone in a mall, and it was a time where the parent had taken his children out for a meal. And it was so ironical that it was supposed to be family time together, but myself and the person who I was walking with, we looked at this family sitting for 5-10 minutes. Not one word was said to each other in the family. Everyone was engaged in their phones. Everyone was sitting on their phones. Not one word said across the table, speaking, nothing. Complete quietness. So this is when we become selfish as an ummah, we do not concentrate on the building of the community. When we leave our children one side, this is the results of it. And this will create disunity in our homes. This will create disunity in the community. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, "Kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ulun an ra'iyatihi." That every one of you is a shepherd, and every one of you will be questioned with regards to his flock. We know a shepherd, if he has to go out with 100 sheep, and he comes back with 99 sheep, how angry will the owner of that sheep be? That you came back with one less sheep. So in a similar manner, with regards to the deen of our children, if our children are leaving our own home without etiquettes of Islam, then what is that feeling? Am I actually feeling anything in my heart? That my child, there's some disrespect in him. He does not have some etiquettes in him. He's doing something wrong. Is it really hurting my heart? Is it really hurting my heart? Can my child, or am I reading Quran Kareem in front of my child at home? Can my child read the Quran Kareem? There was a person who does many conferences. We may know him, we may have heard of him. He was saying that he was once addressing a university in India, thousands of students in that university. He says, I pose the question that let us honestly answer that how many of us, we have the greatest book, the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How many of us have read the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the greatest miracle, cover to cover in the language we understand? The message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us. We live in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years of our lives have passed. How many of us have understood the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed for us in the Quran Kareem. So very important at home. If you want to change the condition of the ummah, is to establish a dini environment at home. Make sure that there is some ta'aleem happening at home. Some of the Quran Kareem is recited at home. At home we have a specific section in the house. Or if we cannot make a section in the house where we seclude for worship, then open a musalla in one corner of the home. In front of our children, show our children that when in times of need, this is who we turn to. We turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We go on that musalla. We role model in front of our children that in the times of need we turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the times of need we go and we read the Quran Kareem. So this is very important. At the very onset we make sure that in our homes we bring deen alive. And when we bring deen alive in our homes, we'll see our entire lives at home will change. There will be peace in the home. There will be barakah in the home. There will be love in the home. There will be muhabba in the home. The second important aspect is that to make sure our children is enrolled in some sort of maktab system or some sort of Islamic system where they're gaining Islamic knowledge. Now very often we have a misconception or a misunderstanding of what the maktab system is. We think that a maktab system is just a place where the child is going to go, the child is going to learn 1-2 du'as, a child will learn how to read the Quran, a child will maybe learn 1-2 hadith, a child will mix with his friends in the maktab, at least he will be mixing with Muslim friends. This is not what the maktab system is. Yes, these are all things which happen in the maktab. But the maktab system is there to protect the iman of our children. That culture of Islam is being imbued in the child from a very young age. The child is learning the identity of Islam. So when the child now leaves the maktab system after 7, 8, 9, 10 years, then the child comes out with the identity of Islam. The child who's been through every grade of the maktab system, inshallah the child will never leave the fold of Islam. We find it in our community and in South Africa and in the world at large. Irtidad, apostasy, in children between the ages 10 to 16 years old is on the increase. Almost on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, we hear of incidents, this child has left the fold of Islam. This child says that who is Allah? Na'udhu billah. And we do not believe in the finality of the nubuwwah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And if you have to look at it deeper, we will find that this child either has not been to a maktab at all, or this child was pulled out prematurely from the maktab system. We will always mention this incident that in Durban, an alim mentioned to us, at grade 3 or 4 level, a child was removed from the maktab to enter into the hifz class. He entered into the hifz class, he could not academically succeed in the hifz class. So the Moulana went to the parent and said, please bring your child back to the maktab. The parent gave an excuse, no, now he's in school, he has extramural activity, he has tuition, he has to go for this, he has to go for that. And he has already learned enough. He already knows some of his du'as, he knows how to make wudu, he's already learned salah. So he knows enough, now I can keep him out of the maktab, he's learned enough, I'm happy with what he's learned. The Moulana says 5-6 years down the line, when the child was 14, 15, 16 years old, I seen that very child on the corner of the street holding a beer bottle in his hand. So when the children leave the maktab system, and it's a sad reality unfortunately in today's time, not only here but many other places, that when the child most needs the maktab, we remove the child from the maktab. When the child now becomes baligh, reaches the age 14, 15, 16 years old, when the child is going through many different changes, outside influences on the child, now we remove the child from the maktab system. Now there is no nurturing of the iman of the child. There is no discussions between the teacher and the child on the different things which is influencing the child. And the child is then just left to traverse the dunya as he wants. So very important, and at this ages, we make sure our children stay in the maktab system. It can never be underestimated that how important it is to keep our child in the maktab, or never be overemphasized. It is of extreme importance that we keep our children enrolled in the maktab system. Comes in a hadith, ihfadillah yahfad, that protect the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, protect the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, protect the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect you. In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of all your needs. And in the words which are said in the start, Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu says, Addib ibnak, that teach your children respect. Teach your children respect. فَإِنَّكَ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ وَلَدِكَ مَاذَا أَدَّبْتَ وَمَاذَا عَلَّمْتَ. Each one of you is going to be questioned with regards to your children. What respect did you teach your child? What knowledge did you give your child? So we should ensure that together with secular education, we should make sure a greater priority is to make sure we give our children a dini education. Because it mentions in one hadith that if we have to give our child the understanding of this hadith, the commentary of this hadith, we have to give our children everything of this world. But if we have not taught them to recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we have given them nothing. That child will come on the day of Qiyamah and will drag the parent, the father by his collar, and drag the father in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and says, my father did not fulfill the responsibility. Yet, if we give our children nothing of this dunya, I'm not saying we must give our children nothing, we have to teach them what they need to know of this dunya. But we have taught them to recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have taught them to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have taught them the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And they remain, let's say, they do not have the things of this dunya. They remain disadvantaged in this aspect, but they recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then this parent is a successful parent. That is why Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentions in one hadith that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's special mercy is on that parent who brings up his family and talks to his family about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Talk to his family about the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and teaches his family the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those things which Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has enjoined, and those things which Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has protected us from. How many incidents we hear in today's time that a parent passes away, the child does not even want to fulfill the kafara of their parent's salah. In other words, parent never reads so many salah, he has written it in his will. An alim was one mentioning in the Kelvin Masjid that there was a parent who passed away and he did not read so many years of salah, he wrote it in his will. So when the parent passed away, the child went to the Moulana and said, Moulana, I will, whatever it is, whatever shortcomings my child did, my father had, I will fulfill it. You just tell me what it is, I will pay it. So the Moulana went back, calculated all the salah that the father must, and the amount came out to over 1 million. Over 1 million. The Moulana went back to the child and said, this is the amount you have to pay for your father's salah. He said, hey, no, that is his business. That is his business. So whose fault is it? It's the father's fault. The father did not give the child the correct upbringing. Yes, he did not read his salah, that is a shortness on his side. But he did not give the child the correct mentality. The correct dini upbringing was not given to the child. That what do I need to do? What decisions do I need to make for my father? And this is a question that every one of us should ask ourselves. That how am I leaving my children? Are we confident that if I die today, my children are going to even read one durood upon me? Or they're going to even send one surah of the Quran Kareem upon me? In the hadith stated in the start, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, إِذَا مَاتَ الْإِنسَانِ انْقَطَعَ عَمْلُهُ إِلَّا مِنْ ثَلَاثٍ. That when a person passes away, then his actions are cut off from him except 3 things. One is perpetual charity. A person has given sadaqah, building of a masjid, and until that masjid is there, the account will be kept open for him. Or he's passed on some beneficial knowledge, and people are now passing on this knowledge, and the account is just going on to the original passer on of the knowledge. Or that child, وَلَدٍ صَالِحٍ يَدْعُو لَهُ. He left behind a pious child who is now praying for his parent. You know, it comes in the footnotes of Tariq al-Tabari in the time of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, that there was a parent, a father who passed away. He left behind a pregnant mother. When this child, and it came into the hadith, someone saw in a dream that this parent was being punished in his grave, and he was being punished in the akhirah. After a period of time, this child grew up. That same person saw in a dream again that now this father is in Jannah. This father is now enjoying from the bounties of Jannah. So he asked him, what's the matter with you? Few years ago I saw that you were getting punished in the grave, you were getting punished in hellfire. Now I see you in Jannah. So he said that when I passed away, I left behind a pregnant woman, and the child was born, and the child grew up, and when the child started taking the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala became shy to punish me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala felt it bad to punish me, therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala entered me into Jannah. So we should ask ourselves this question, respected elders and brothers, how do we want to leave our children? How do we want to leave our children? Do we want to give them everything? And besides giving them the deen, and the day we pass away, they do not even come to visit our graves, they do not even read Quran on our behalf. Or when we pass away, we want them to continuously send charity on our behalf and read Quran for us. And at that time, we know nothing can benefit us but those things which are given on our behalf. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the understanding. Inshallah, if we do these 2 things, we'll see unity will come in our community. Number one is inculcate a dini environment at home. And number two is take care of our children. Make sure that they enroll in some maktab. The topic is lengthy. Alhamdulillah, there is a maktab here. Many different areas that we live in South Africa. We are very fortunate there are makatib available. It is imperative, if not compulsory, that we make sure that our children are attending this makatib so that they get the identity of Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all the understanding to practice. Inshallah, we should just ensure that at the time of salah, we should fill in all the gaps in front of us. There's a lillah collection for the masjid. We should try and contribute towards that. Great efforts are happening in the masjid. The work of deen, the hifz classes which is here, the maktab is here, the different aspects. We should try and contribute towards it. We know this is sadaqah jariyah for us. Also, lunch will be provided at a nominal cost of 50 rand, inshallah.